Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. It's David Baer here. So I'm trying to think. It was probably a month ago now. I was talking to somebody, and I mentioned the phrase, having grown up in New York State, a phrase I was very familiar with, the five colleges. And
Mhm.
I now live here on the West Coast, and of course, they were thinking of the five colleges down the Pomona area in Southern California, and we kind of kept talking past each other because they didn't think about the same five colleges that I was thinking about. I, of course, being a Northeasterner, was thinking about the colleges in Western Massachusetts. I
Mhm.
only bring this up today because today's guest happened to attend one of those five colleges. And if you asked me to rattle off the names of all five, I probably couldn't, except that I did spend time at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst studying arts management for a little while, and so I became intimately familiar with the five colleges at that point many years ago. But that's not really what we're talking about today. We're talking about the things that brilliant graduates of liberal arts colleges like Mount Holyoke go on to do in their lives and careers. And that is just the first of many fascinating facts that you're going to learn today about our guest, Laura Kamrath. Hey, Laura, welcome.
Hi, David. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, absolutely. I want to get the many interesting facts part covered here because when I started to read your story, there were
Mhm.
like one interesting thing after another. And then I went over to your website and I read your bio there where you talk about rocks, and I'm like, what the heck is she? Oh my goodness, there's a fascinating story here too. So before we get into all of the stuff about automation and AI and marketing, could you
Yeah.
sort of tell us the story of what led up to you becoming part of the world that you're in today?
Yeah, I'll start with going back to the five colleges story. Speaking of the five colleges, it's UMass, Amherst, Mount Holyoke, Smith, and Hampshire College.
Mhm.
And did you know that they're actually that Scooby-Doo was actually modeled after the five colleges?
I had no idea.
Yeah, so like Scooby is UMass, and Shaggy is Shaggy is Hampshire. Amherst is the blonde boy. I don't know the
Yeah.
names of the characters, and then the two
There's
girls.
Thelma and I can't remember the other guy, but yeah, I
Yeah,
gotcha.
the blonde girl is Smith, and the brown-haired girl is Mount Holyoke. We're the
Hmm.
nerdy girls.
Excellent.
But yeah, speaking of nerdy girls, so I did go to Mount Holyoke. I actually, had an interesting childhood. I moved around. I lived in New Jersey, lived in England for 5 years growing up. Made it to Houston, Texas when I was 17. Did 1 year of high school here, and then went to Mount Holyoke up in Massachusetts. And I double majored in geology and French, studied abroad in France. I learned how to sip coffee at nice little French cafes. But but then majored in geology, and that's kind of the career that I took. I
Yeah.
went into oil and gas. I did a combination of technical things. I actually worked out offshore on the rigs, and did some geophysical data interpretation. I was building 3D models of salt domes while I did my MBA at Rice University.
Mm.
But Yeah, I went to Mount Holyoke, majored in geology, went into, I would say most of my career I spent on more of the business, sales, and marketing side of like technical geoscience and engineering companies. And the oil and gas industry is notoriously cyclical. It's just up and it's down, boom and bust. And in 2015, we had a big downturn and layoffs across the board. All the companies were downsizing, and sadly, they pretty much laid off my whole sales team. And I was like, well, now what am I gonna do? My industry's not hiring, and you know, am I gonna I actually went through kind of a like real questioning period. I was like, I actually entertained like possibly going into acting. Like maybe I could be an actress. I mean, I was actually an actress as a child. I was in a feature film out of school for like 3 months filming. And that was really fun. And I was like, well, maybe I could like go back into that. But no, so I actually, the way things work, it's just kind of funny. Like I sort of entertained a bunch of ideas and came back to like, the most fun I ever had at work was I worked for a company called Inexus, not
Mhm.
INXS, the band, but they were like Inexus. And at that company, I worked with like a senior marketing strategist and did like a complete marketing overhaul of the company
Hmm.
and took them from being a complete unknown, just like referral based company to everybody in the industry knew who they were. And, that was just so much fun to me and it was so rewarding. And I wanted to do more of that. And, so there I was straight out of corporate oil and gas and decided to start a digital marketing agency. Like I really didn't know, you know, one thing from another thing. I was just like, where do I start? And I started in a kind of weird place. I started with becoming a Keep certified partner, which anybody might have heard of Infusionsoft previously. They've rebranded to Keep, and they're a marketing automation tool.
And
And
I guess, but before you dive into that, if you can explain
yeah,
to some of our listeners what a marketing automation tool is or does, what purpose it fills in a business, that would be probably helpful as well.
oh yeah. So marketing automation is really a way to reduce the amount of time that you're having to spend in like manual processes. And that could be anything from automating lead capture and follow up with nurture. Like, so, if somebody opts in for something from your business, first of all, they have to be able to get it from you. If they request it, you have to be able to send it. And then once you send it, then, you don't want to just forget about them. You want to follow up. So it helps you automate the follow up, ask them to take them the next step. So maybe they request a complimentary guide or a checklist or something from your website. Maybe now you want to ask them to book a consultation or make a small purchase. So, you could actually send a series of emails talking about how you work with your customers and how happy your customers are. So, include a few testimonials possibly and ask them to take the next step. And then, of course, say they don't take the next step, then you can decide what you want to do with them at that point. Maybe you want to task a team member to follow up with them by phone, give them a
Mhm.
call or send them a text message. So it's just a way of being able to, marketing exists to move people along the marketing, the customer journey. And marketing automation is a tool that you can use at different points along your customer journey to make life a little bit easier for you and also just serve your customers better and make sure that they always get what they need.
So you got into this world having chosen to not pursue or revisit the acting career you had back in the days of the Phoenix and the Magic Carpet. And instead, I know you're wondering like, how does he know this? And of course, while you were telling the story, I looked it up on IMDb. But instead to say, okay, I'm interested in business growth, business development. I've been, doing this work in the oil and gas industry, and now I'm going to understand how it works in the small and medium-sized business space as well.
Hmm.
So, what brought you from there into becoming a provider of services for businesses?
Well, I think, I mean, you mean what brought me from like being in the company to then just,
Yeah, I guess what was the transition that brought you to go out and help folks with all of this? Like, what was
oh,
yeah, what was
yeah,
behind
I
your
mean, I I think it goes back to, like, I just found it really rewarding, you mean,
Mhm.
as opposed to, like, choosing some other path?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really just found it really rewarding, the work that I did, especially at a Nexus. I'm really a people person. I I really and I'm also committed to seeing people in a state of growth, like, whether it comes to their business
Mm.
or even just themselves as a person. Like, I believe we can all be our best selves, and, when it comes down to being a business owner, a lot rides on our shoulders. Like a lot is riding on us, including just who we are being as a person.
Mhm.
And who we are being as a person like comes through our business. And and also at the end of the day, like, we didn't go into business just for fun. Most of us are in business so we can achieve some sort of goals, like life goals. Like, maybe we want to be financially secure to send our kids to college, or maybe we just really want to take a vacation, or we want to have the freedom to, like, live in a different country part of the year, uh or maybe all of the time. Who knows what it is. We all have goals, and for the most part, like, when we start a business, we have it in our minds, like, the end goal, like, not just like how much money are we going to make the in the business. Like, that's important, but, like, what's the end goal for you as a person?
Mhm.
And I think that's really what drives me. And I guess being in the marketing side is where I found the most ability to kind of help people get there to whatever it is that whoever it is they're trying to be, and whatever it is they're trying to achieve for themselves and for maybe the people in their business.
I love
So,
that because what you've just talked about here is the perfect blend of what I think a great marketer and business strategist is, and it's all of that data stuff that you were talking about earlier, combined with your understanding of people and human behavior, and that really gives you the opportunity to help people from multiple angles. So let's talk a little bit about the work that you've been doing with clients and the current new reality that we were talking about before we hit
mm,
record of the state of the marketing industry and technology.
yeah.
Where have you been with your client work, and where do you see things going here in 2024 and beyond?
Yeah, I think this is a just fascinating time to be in business. Um, I guess we could talk about it a little bit, like, I don't know, the advent of the printing press, like,
Mhm.
changed the whole world. The advent of the internet also changed the whole world. It connected us in ways we've never been connected before. Now we've got AI, and it's publicly available, and anybody can use it. Um, and I think that it's both amazing and exciting, and possibly also a little bit scary at the same time in ways. And I mean, in lots of ways, like, if you really start getting your imagination going, like, we've got OpenAI's chief technology officer resigning
Mhm.
because he wants to develop the technology in a ethical way, and then we've got competing people who want to develop it for commercial reasons and make money. I mean, we're all human, and humans are flawed.
Mhm.
So we're developing this really amazing, very, very powerful technology that is both incredible and comes with some really big concerns at the
Yeah.
same time. So, I think, it's like, wow, we can use it in some really incredible ways for business, just to make things run faster, take things off our plate, just like automation does. But, automation can only take it so far. So, say you can automate a text message response to a customer after they message your website. Well, with automation, you can automate a canned response. With AI, you can automate a customized response.
Mhm.
So it just takes it a little bit further, um, to where, like, I mean, I don't know if you've listened to any of the most recent OpenAI's release of ChatGPT 4.0, but they've now merged the uh, text, voice, and image. It used to be separate models. Now they're all merged into one model. And like it can make dad jokes. It can talk to you in different kinds of voices. It can look at an image and tell you what it sees.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, it's just it's it's kind of insane. And like you can now there's no it got rid of the delay in the voice. So now you can talk to it and it responds in like a human like fashion. It doesn't sound robotic anymore. It's like the thing that made it robotic before was, I would say, like, say you're the AI, I could say, like, "Oh, hi, David. Oh, hi, Laura. Nice to see you."
Mhm.
It would there be that little delay where you could tell it was fake.
Yeah.
And like that's gone now. Uh, and so it's like, well, where is this all going? And um, as business owners, it's like, this is not coming to take our jobs necessarily. In some cases, it probably will. Like, you know, when computers came out, they replaced jobs for people who use typewriters. But I think it's an exciting opportunity where if we actually learn how to use this stuff, we can really get a competitive edge. Because, just like when the iPhone came out, like the iPhone came out and you could see a few people, or not the iPhone, I guess back going all the way back to like the iPod.
Mhm.
When Apple first released the iPod, you could see people around here and there, like with their white earbuds. And those were the cool people. You knew they were cool because they had the white earbuds. And then, gradually over time, like more and more people started to have white earbuds. And then eventually they came out with the iPhone, and the iPhone kind of became the standard. And then everybody had an iPhone. And then, gradually, then just smartphones in general started to become a thing. And then everybody had smartphones. And then finally, like, I don't know, a couple months ago, my one friend finally got rid of his flip phone and he
Mhm.
finally got an iPhone. So we have this technology adoption curve, and right now we're at like the very beginning of it, where I think a lot of people are starting to look at AI, but maybe not like fully making use in it, or they don't really know what to do with it yet.
Yeah.
And but eventually it's going to become the mainstream and everybody's going to do it.
Well, I
Like,
would say that the rate of adoption and the rate of development of all of the examples you just gave and the rate of development of AI and
mhm,
adoption are very different. So with AI, things have developed in warp speed over the last couple of years. Basically,
yeah.
we started with the artificial intelligence back in the 50s and 60s in a very primal way compared to what we've gotten our hands on recently.
Yeah,
But over the last couple of years, the developments have been so rapid and so many people are building stuff on top of it. Most of it's
yeah,
not useful or practical for anybody. And
yeah,
then the rate of adoption in business we're seeing at the enterprise level is major, right? If you
yeah,
look at companies saying we're adopting, you're seeing in the 70 and 80% of enterprise level. But when you look at the SMB space, you're seeing something like 5 to 7% adoption rate. And I think
yeah,
there's huge opportunity, but as you've said, like nobody's really quite sure where this fits yet.
yeah. And I think especially, yeah, I think within the bigger companies, there's definitely like a push for digital transformation, and they're actually bringing in digital transformation experts to talk about like, how do we reconfigure our processes, or how we get rid of the manual work and save time and save people's time for higher level tasks. And that's a little bit different because these people are like going into these big companies as experts, and their whole job is to just know about this stuff.
Mhm.
But I think for the small businesses, people who maybe don't have like the ability to hire like a digital transformation expert to come into their small business and like tell them what to do with it. So I think in that instance is a little bit more like, okay, well, I logged into ChatGPT and I used it to write an email and my mind was blown. And
Right. And those of us who spend any more time with it realize, wow, that's so basic compared to what you could be doing with it.
right. And it's a little bit funny in terms of like it's it's just kind of mind-blowingly amazing what it
Mhm.
can do, but then at the same time, sometimes it's really stupid. Like
Yep.
like, it's not that creative in some instances, like, you ask it to give you, like, 3 t creative headlines for something, and it
Mhm.
just, like it's like, "No, that sucks." Like, but if you asked it to then, like, write an email or write a blog post about a topic, like, it's gonna probably do a really good job. But, um but I don't know, like, the other day, I was trying to get it to do something. I was trying to get it to pull text out of an image. I had this image that had, like, a bunch of lines of text that I wanted to turn into, like, social media posts by putting them into a CSV file and blah, 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 blah. So
Mhm.
I needed them to be text, not image. And I gave it to ChatGPT just to find out what it would do with an image full of text, and it transcribed it for me into text, but like most of the stuff was just not words.
Mhm. Hmm.
And so then I was like, well, I bet it could clean this up. And I'm like, okay, try cleaning this up. Like a lot of these things are not words, make them into short sentences to see what it would do. And it kind of did, but it was really like it was like I was talking to somebody who didn't speak English.
Yeah.
Like, so sometimes it's really amazing and sometimes it's just like it's hard to get it to do what you're really trying to get it to do. But for the most part, I think if you have like a organized system and a plan for what you're going to use it for, you can really accomplish some incredible things with it. And that's what I do with my customers is, I've built an entire system of prompts that helps them generate their entire foundational framework to build their entire marketing plan end to end.
I
So
love it.
they
Yeah.
can really get a, something real and very valuable accomplished in a very short period of time.
Mhm.
I had one of my clients recently, he ran through my prompts in a weekend and he was like, oh my God, he's like, this would have taken me at least a month to do, or I wouldn't have even known what to do, and I probably would have never gotten this done. And he did it in a weekend.
Yeah.
So
I think another big difference between this technology and so many others that we've learned to adopt is there's no specific instructions on, push this, turn that, and you're gonna get this, this end result, but rather
yeah,
you have your choice of so many directions you can take this technology, have at it. And because it
yeah,
requires a lot more testing and exploration, understanding of how to use it, it you know, it's like having more than 3 choices on a menu, right? It becomes
yeah,
overwhelming, and it's difficult for most humans to figure out what to do with it. And so the fact that you have built out a system that you know where you're going at the end of it, and you've built the components, the steps through your
mhm,
prompts that you've developed to have that outcome, it gives somebody that roadmap that is missing from simply having access to the technology in the first place.
yeah. And I think that's the thing is like people just don't know what to do with it right now, a lot of people. And I mean there's so many AI tools out there now. Like, people are, oh, let's make a tool that does this and let's make a tool that does that. And it's like, well, how do you take all of these things people are making and actually do something useful with them?
Mhm.
And do you need them? And does it do something useful actually? And I think that's a big challenge because there's like websites with hundreds of different AI tools that people have come up with.
Oh, tens of thousands.
Yeah,
So
yeah, tens of thousands,
yeah.
just like eons of them. And I mean, I use some of them and they're just incredible. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, for example, like Descript for video editing.
Sure.
I mean, you had to like I'm not a video editor and using whatever things for video editing, like it was just always hard for me. And now like you can drop a video into Descript, it transcribes the entire voice part into text. And then to edit the video, you're just like delete a sentence or something. Oh, I don't want that sentence in there. You
Yep.
just delete it and it's gone. It like takes out all the filler words, which, unfortunately, notoriously, I'm famous for putting too many of those in. And you can just tell it, take out all the filler words, and it goes ahead and takes it out. Um, which is amazing. Like I built my whole online course and edited the videos myself with the script. It was like, boom, cool,
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
but then video.ai, another really cool one for anybody who's doing like video or social media kind of stuff. You can take a long form video and drop it in there, and instead of you having to pick through and figuring out what the important short pieces are for social media, you can put it out on Instagram Reels or TikTok Reels or, you know, LinkedIn, Facebook. It just picks out the shorts for you, chops it into shorts, tells you what the likely virality score is, like how much are people going to react to this, and helps you put like text and titles on it and whatever you need and
Mm.
like captions. And then boom, in the space of like a couple minutes, you've got I mean, you could take one 30-minute video and produce like 15 shorts out of it. And
You've been giving examples, from email to blog writing to video stuff, that are very much sort of, certainly in the marketing world, the logical and obvious things, which is creating some form of content that goes out there publicly. But
yeah.
you described that, in the sequence of prompts that you've created for clients. It sounds like there's other things other than simply creating content, maybe thinking through processes
Oh yeah.
and so I wonder if you might talk about some of the other applications of this technology beyond content creation that people should know about.
Yeah. So like one of the issues I think people have, especially when they have technical businesses, is like how do you communicate what you do effectively to your customer in a way that they're gonna understand it and hear you. Um, Part of that is first you have to start with who is the customer. Like who really are you serving? Like what are their demographics? What are their interests? What do they care about? What are their values? Like what's keeping them up at night? What are their fears and frustrations? And what are their who are they following? What are they reading? Where are they going? What do they care about? And like really getting inside their head.
Mhm.
And seriously, like AI can help you with that. And a lot of us as business owners, we don't go through that process to really sit down and get clear on who our ideal customer is. And we might have more than one, like there might be more than one potential buyers, at a car dealership. Sometimes maybe it's the husband, sometimes maybe it's the wife. Sometimes maybe it's, a person who just got their driver's license. It's a kid. you know.
And
So
different motivating factors about why
right.
they want a car or what kind of car they want based on the criteria that they have.
Right, exactly. So, thinking about like, are there more than one ideal customer profiles? And what are their different motivations for wanting to buy
Mhm.
what you do? And, it's a lot easier to ask ChatGPT, hey, please give me a customer profile, a customer avatar profile for a I don't know, a wife who's looking to buy a car at a dealership or
Mhm.
something, than sitting there and defining like a whole bunch of different possible ideal customers.
Yep.
The other thing that I think is very helpful in is because when we have to do this stuff manually, like if we go through the whole process and we define that whole avatar, like, and then we change our minds, like, oh my God, now we have to do this all over again. But like, instead of having to do that, like, we can just be like, here, generate one that looks like this, generate one that looks like this,
Mhm.
generate one that looks like this. And then you can compare and contrast and be like, well, which one do you think like is really the best, or which is like the most logical? And then you can pick one and be like, okay, let's use this and let's refine it. And so it's a tool, like, so it's a tool to help us like be even more effective, because because we can get more done in a faster time, like, we can also do more sort of iterations, like we can
Yeah.
do more testing, like, hey, what do we think about this, what do we think about that, without having to be like, oh my God, if I want to test this other one, I have to sit here for another 3 hours to like write this all out. But then my system, like, once I have that, like, everything starts with who is the customer, and then we move on to questions like, well, why would they actually even consider buying from us?
Mhm.
Like, what are the reasons that they would even come to us? And when you start to kind of understand those, you're like, well, now I know like 5 reasons that somebody probably would be motivated to come to us, to come inquire about what we do and see if we can help them with a problem. So now
And
you can
so
start like building.
it sounds like we're talking about brainstorming, we're talking about research, we're talking about a whole bunch of places where it can help speed up the process of discovery as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned brief time, and I have to say, sadly, we're at the end of the time that we have together. But where you're going with this is what you're doing with folks in a community that you're building, and I want to make
Yeah.
sure that for people who are interested in sort of, and we'll leave a cliffhanger here, what happens next in the system,
Yeah.
and where can they find out more about what you're doing as it relates to AI and automation in your community?
Yeah. So I have a community on Facebook called Double Your Sales with AI and Automation. And in my community, I'm going live weekly with uh, live videos talking about different topics that pertain to marketing, marketing strategy, and automation and AI. And how you can make better use of this, or just be able to grow your business strategically, and actually be able to double your sales. So I'd love for you guys to join me in there, and
Yep,
do live.
and you gave us a link to that, which is ZBRA, which is the abbreviation of Zebra, your marketing company. ZBRA.live/grow, and that'll take you over to the Facebook group. We'll also make sure to leave a link to that in the show notes. Laura
Awesome.
Kamrath, thank you so very
Yeah.
much. This has been a really great conversation, and I'm actually eager to know what the next steps are. I'm going to keep you on after we stop recording to find out myself. But for everybody else, please head on over to the Facebook group again. That's zbra.live/grow to join Laura and follow along and start applying some of these concepts to your business as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, David, for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Indeed. Folks, you have been listening to More Perfect Marketing. If you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the conversation that you just heard, please send them our way. Until next time, I'm David Baer. Take care.